Welcome, welcome everybody to chess stream, analysis stream. Excel Poker, you're up first, but you're not in the study because your games are in a separate study. Okay. Yes, we are streaming chess. I've got games from Excel Poker, Big Dummy, Mr. Coffee, Sumahair, Asterbait, Yabatis, and Jim. Did I miss anyone? Guys, don't forget, gift a sub now to be number one. Uber driver, 500 bits this week. It's been a little slow getting back into streaming, but we'll do it. Alright, so where is Mr. Excel Poker? Excel Poker 88 Lucky Pocket Snowman. Message me. Mr. Coffee with 200 bits. Get on the board, on the leaderboard. Thank you, Mr. Coffee. What am I lagging again? Ping 70, server 2, okay. Thought I clicked on this. My computer's slow. I don't know. Alright. So, here we go. Mr. Excel Poker. Add this game for the next analysis stream. I am white. Is this right? This is right. I am white. It's out of my recent over the board tournament. Alright. Queen's Cap Decline, Queen's Knight variation. Patrick Tom. So, analysis board. I don't like the new layout that lichess did. But whatever. Patrick Tom. Tomas. Alright. There it is. We're there. Alright. Good. So this is our first game for today. The rest of Asturbate's repertoire. We've got Asturbate's repertoire. No. Master database. Alright. Would you prefer to analyze the game using Asturbate's repertoire or the master database? Excel Poker. It's up to you. Alright, Mr. Coffee, thank you for 200 bits. I noticed Hikaru is streaming my daughter's favorite game. This weird game called Genshin Impact. Maybe I'll start doing random video game streams. I guess it helps if you have like 7,000 viewers to begin with. Alright, anyway. We are gonna start here. So, Excel Poker playing white plays d4. He is a universal player. He plays both d4 and e4. d5, c4. None of that London system stuff. c4 is critical. Black plays e6. White plays knight c3. And now, it's Stapvargan. The unusual Stonewall defense out of the Queen's Gambit. Yeah, this is bringing back memories. It's bringing back weird memories for me of some old book I had in the 80s. I can't even remember who the author was. I had this game recently where I played like g4 against Stapvargan or somebody. g4 has a really good score, but it's a very small sample size. I guess Stapvargan just took it, and then I played h3, but I guess h3 is a mistake. Because he can play g3 and just feed the pawn back. That's what happened. I mean, I like the idea of g4. It's kind of extreme. Objectively it's fun, but not necessarily the best or correct. I mean, I guess now if you approach this from a classical standpoint, White's best move is probably knight f3. And you played queen b3. Wow. That's a move I never considered. I mean, what are we going to do about this stone wall? You know, seriously. So how does queen b3 fit in here? I think knight f3 is normal. There are other good moves like bishop f4, which reminds me of the famous game in Master. What's it called? The most destructive games that were played by Chernev or Rubinstein. The Web of Dark Squares. That book, which I talk about often. It's kind of like an old TV series to me. Like the different games in it were one of my favorite classic chess books. The games in it were almost like episodes of Star Trek, you know. Mr. Coffee, are you here? The Tholian Web? No. Alright, no. I'm just joking around. But bishop f4 is good. Knight f3 is good. Basically, our idea here is going to be to play bishop g5. And if black were to set up, what we can do is get a Rubinstein type of thing going on with the bishop f4. Rubinstein did this with reversed colors. So if like bishop d3, h6, bishop f4, you could always like trade for the knight on f6, but this might even be better. Alright. Wow, dude. I mean, queen b3 looks crazy, right? How bad can it be, though? Again, you got nothing on b7, and you're like forcing him to play c6. Okay. He played c6. So what's the idea? What's the idea? What's queen b3? Queen b3, it's kind of random. I mean, are you going to castle queenside or something? That's crazy. There's a Jakob Zilberman game. Do you guys know who Jakob Zilberman is? He's like Mr. Stonewall Attack. You know how weird it is? Like there's a game there, Jakob Zilberman playing white. Or I'm thinking of a different guy. It's not Jakob Zilberman. Jakob Norowitz. Alright, that's a different guy. My bad. I was gonna say, like, it'd be really weird if that guy was playing against the stone wall. I'm thinking of Jakob Norowitz. This is an Israeli player. I'm thinking of an IM from New York. So what's Excel Poker doing with queen b3? I mean, it's okay, it's like a neutral move, but what's our formation? Yeah, maybe there's some tactics on that diagonal. I mean, it protects c4, but to be honest, like, I just don't think like it's very often a good idea for black to take the pawn on c4. Not something I would be worried about since I was like 1600. But nevertheless, I guess queen b3 is not really like detrimental to white's position. This move though, I mean, I don't know what black should do. I'm not a Stonewall guy, but I mean, you don't have knight coming in there. But I mean, generally speaking, like black wants to play bishop d6 or bishop e7, castle kingside. You prevent him from playing bishop d7, bishop e8, bishop h5 by having your queen attacking b7. Well, I mean, there is that to mention. If he goes here, you know, there's no place to put his queen. And if he castles, you're tying him down. You're tying him down to b7. That's funny. There's a Slovenian guy I played, Primoz Soln, played rook d1 here. GM Tranquilizer raiding with a party of 28. Just in time to get the Tranquilizer raid. What's up? I noticed, guys, check out Wide Levante. GM Tranquilizer. What's up, man? Why no play in Mercurea, Chuk? Romanian Grand Prix Stage 3. I thought maybe you would be OTB chess. That was a pretty decent tournament. I saw our friend the Beast was out there. I'm sorry that I couldn't play. I would like to play that. It's a cool place. I guess Tranquilizer was chilling in Bucharest. It's a little hike in like central Transylvania, but they had a good tournament. Maybe one time I'll play. Okay. Thanks for the raid, bro. Knight on bd7. It looks weird. Like, where does the knight go? It's almost never good in the Stonewall on d7. Uh-oh. You sure there'll be more interesting tournaments in Romania in the future? Yeah, probably. Take care, man. Thanks, Levante. So he's like blunder. That's the other problem with knight on d7. Blocking the bishop, protecting f5. You know, oftentimes like the queen is on c2. Snapping that pawn with the queen is a dangerous prospect because like black will have play along the f file. But snapping it with the bishop is not a problem. So black screwed up basically. This is another problem with the whole setup with knight on bd7. I mean, he just can't defend f5 properly. I guess after this, he has to play knight e4. I don't see another option, right? Then what do? You can't, like, sack a pawn. I mean, you gotta consider sacking a pawn. Maybe this type of thing. I'm actually kind of curious if you could pull off an h4 type of idea. But it's not necessary. I mean, you could certainly just trade bishops and be slightly better. There's some games here. But I really think like black kind of has to do that. What is he doing here? Bishop e7, bishop d3, castles, bang. Black's got a problem now. You're not supposed to play c takes d in the Stonewall defense. This is now like a messed up position for black. He's got a weird... He's basically playing f5 in a exchange Slav. Alright, so I think white's better. Now knight e4. I would like to keep my bishop on the board maybe, but you know, this is too strong. So you also have to look for tactics. I mean, it's just not in the position yet. Maybe later. Right now, the knight d5 takes, queen takes d5, two pawns for a piece. Popular with my opponents in Grandmaster tournaments, but at least one of them. Obviously, You don't have to be Mikhail Botvinnik to be aware of this sort of tactic, you know. Reference to another favorite book of mine, 100 Selected Games. Alright, FC1, I like it, but can we actually penetrate? And, yeah, I mean, Black's knight on d7 is holding the line against any invasions on e5, so the problem with this redundant knight, you know, maneuvering is that it always just leaves this huge hole on e5. So you could just drop in on e5. Now he has to go back. Now you're close to tactics. You could sacrifice a piece here for 3 pawns with knight d5. Chomp, 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 check, king h8, and then something like bishop takes e4, or maybe you have rook c7. No, actually, Excel Poker, I mean, he's got knight f6 there. So, yeah, it's not that simple. If you try to go down, he has this. Back and hold. We might have something else that I'm missing. But that looks like a pretty straightforward move. Knight f6 holds. Maybe he has this. There you have like knight f7 check. Well, you don't want to force it too much here because, I mean, you have a good position. You don't need to sacrifice anything. You know, but if you have a golden opportunity, you don't want to miss it either. What about bishop takes e4 first? See, this is the problem. Like, he can try to eliminate the knight first. You have a tactic, bishop takes d5. You have in-between moves. Maybe this isn't bad, though. Let's check it out. Bishop takes e4 first. He takes. Then we sacrifice here. You're going to have some issues on the f-file. Takes, queen takes check, king h8. You got back rank problems, but he has queen f6 at the end. So you're going to come up short. There's a mate on the back rank. I mean, like, you're winning if he doesn't have queen f6. But this unfortunately leads to queen takes f2 and queen f1 mate. You're so close to winning tactic here, based on a combination on that pawn chain. You got to calculate it every move. You know, different kind of versions of these sacrifices almost work. It's so close. You could just try to like filter in with knight b5. So you played instead f3, knight takes, pawn takes, knight c5. Welcome to Capablanca land. Here, his favorite, Kappa's favorite maneuver. I thought black has to play b6. But your opponent played instead rook e8. So the point is, if you play knight takes d5, again, there's more tactics, and he's hanging on by like picking off your pawn on e5. I mean, you have a huge positional advantage. You could just like knight here, knight takes, queen takes, getting a knight to d6. You're much better. But here Excel Poker found a combination. Bishop takes f5. Wow. Big pawn to win. If pawn takes, knight takes d5, followed by capturing on c5. Does black have any other move? Well, like this doesn't work especially well because you have queen takes c5 protecting the pawn. Yeah, I mean, he's in big trouble. But, I mean, obviously he should have tried b6. b6 is better here. But again, I still think you have a pretty big advantage. I was wondering about one thing, though. I mean, can he go like bishop a6? Here, bishop a6. It seems like he might just make it a little difficult for you. You know, it's easier maybe you go this way and then try to stick your knight on d4 with the positional advantage. This looks like a serious error. So nice combo. He takes, you take, you're winning a pawn. You won a pawn. And the knight holds the pawn on e3. But I don't know which way you want to take here. I'm not sure like this pawn is going to win the game either. You're clearly better, but if the extra pawn's on the king side, not a guaranteed win. Now, are you threatening anything? No. He's got like bishop e6, knight c7. So you're yes, you are. You're threatening knight c7. All right. Stupid question deserves a stupid answer. Excel Poker is threatening knight c7. Wow. So black is able to avoid that by playing bishop d7 here, and then he could trade and pin you. He could just trade and then get out of the fork by pinning you. Something like rook ac8. Black can hold on. This is loose. And if you take, you know, he takes your rook on c5. So you played f4. Not without risk. Because f4 will weaken, you know, he's weakening control of the light square. So Excel Poker has to be careful. If somehow, you know, black gets the queen and bishop on that diagonal, he could get checkmated. f4 is not a no-brainer. Grab pawn. So if knight c7 again, there are pin issues. There's also bishop c6. That's another problem. Although white has rook c2 now. Yeah, this is a huge issue. Okay, so black figures he's okay. He takes on b2. He's got possible tactics against g2. But now, where does the black queen go? Here or here? So what happens? You like win the exchange? Don't you have knight e7 check? But that's maybe not so clear. Let's see. Check. Rook takes. Queen takes. Bishop takes. Rook takes. Rook takes e3. I mean, you're probably winning. But maybe I have something easier. You just stay on the fork. You're gonna win the exchange. Wow, actually win a whole piece. Oh. Wow. Whoops. Wow. So that didn't help. So he has to move his queen. He can't even go queen d2 because of rook d1 or what? Oh, now, yeah. He should have played, something else, I guess. Right? Queen somewhere. Then you fork. He moves a rook, and you can play like queen d5 check and just win a piece. Maybe it's not so simple. Maybe it's not so simple because like rook here, queen d5 check, bishop e6, knight takes, queen takes e3 check, winning the knight back. So you just settle for the exchange. Or maybe you can't, actually. Right, I know you meant after rook c8. But what's the win here? If he goes queen e2 right away, or queen d2, what's your winning move? The point is, this fork does win because you have queen d6. What do you do? Like, just give him this pawn? Rook c8. Not queen check, but some simpler move. Queen d6. It's a little complicated. No? I mean, I might be missing something, but you're going to run into problems with that. You're going to run into problems with that thing again. I don't even know if he should put his queen on d2 or put his queen on e2, for example. But I guess the d2 would make him vulnerable to discovery, so this is like safer. After this, you're lucky. Now he has like no counterplay. Can he play rook down? No. Yeah, I guess he's busted now. Rook c2 doesn't work. Rook d8. That's what he played. Now queen e6 check, game over. Or this. You have ways to protect. h3. He does have rook triple. This is nice. I like this. Very, very rare you see like tripled pieces. You have knight check and knight h4. Oh my god, it's mate. I didn't even see it. I thought, oh, okay, we'll just play knight h4. You can always do knight h4, right? Check here. I think that would win, but your way is better. That's pretty funny. You got a mate. Yeah, it looks like his one chance was there. I mean, I don't think this is like automatically a winning position for you. You're up a pawn. His bishop's pretty dangerous if it comes to c6. Black should have chances to hang on. Maybe f4 was risky. But that's definitely losing after rook c8. Okay. Thanks for the game, Excel Poker. Guys, welcome to the stream. What's up? I've got 6 or 7 games in our study to share with you from our subscribers and friends. Good to be back. Yeah, queen b3. It's weird, man. It's a weird move. Is that like a theoretical novelty, by the way? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's not unusual, really, against the Slav or Queen's Gambit, but here it's never been played in a tournament game, right? You know, this could happen by a different order of moves. Like, black plays the pawn triangle, you know. Now queen b3 is like a move. And then black plays f5. That's how the Haussard game, the French game, the first in the list there, 1998, excuse me. This was played by a semi-Slav pawn triangle move order. So queen b3 is more understandable there. But nevertheless, like, I don't think it's a terrible move. You know, it's reasonable. Okay. Onward and upward. Mr. Coffee, how are you, sir? Sire. Ping 65, server 2. Good to be back. Working, normal stuff. Hungarian Team Championship doesn't start till, like, when the World Senior starts. So I've got, it's really late this year, November 20th. I've got no tournament games unless I play in the Budapest Team Championship, which is possible. They want me to play, like, 5 games a season, so maybe I could get 2 or 3 games, stay in practice. Otherwise, I'm not playing OTB till November. All right, study. Any other last minute submissions for the stream? Cyrus. Myri Cyrus. Spectacular Camel. Spectacular Camel. Do you want to do your game now, or do you want to wait for later? November, there will be a new senior champion. There you go. Some things are sure. Unless there's like another massive pandemic or something. There has been no World Senior for like the last 2 years because of the pandemic. I'm going to give you a chance, Spectacular Camel, to go first. If you want to do your game first, you might want to get it over. Thank you for subscribing. 36 months. 36? 3 years. That would be awesome. Alright. We'll go right, because I don't think being dummy. Mr. Coffee doesn't mind. Alright, this is Ubadis. This is not a mouse slip. A4, the crab. Crab theory. Magnus. Man, that's this. Magnus played it against Rajabov. Strangely, there's Peter Heine Nielsen and that freaky guy who like reported me to lichess, no, to what was it? I was abusing him, he said. Whatever, dude. Get a life, seriously. A4 is popular. Probably only let me go first due to your birthday. I think playing A4 in a tournament game might be a sign of psychological imbalance. It is surprising that Peter Heine Nielsen played it. With Simon Williams, I'm not surprised. And Magnus will troll people from time to time. Obviously, Magnus can do what he wants. Okay, how bad can it be? I mean, it's better than G4 for sure. Like 100% A4 is better than the Grob. It's better than the Grob. It's better than... It's probably better than H3. It's possibly Likely better than h4. Probably better than f3. a4 is not that bad. Alright, knight f6, and now g3. So the idea is, I think his idea is to extend. It's like we're going to extend the control of the diagonal by playing bishop g2, and we'll sneak the a pawn down there. So the a4, a5, a6 works to pry open the long diagonal at b7. Very sneaky. I like Excel Poker, yeah. That's like everybody's first chess opening. The a4 rook a3. That's funny though. Peter Hines didn't play rook a3, and what's he thinking? That's why it's inaccurate. Black should play e5 to prevent rook a3. Ooh, blunder. How many people have hung their rooks by doing that? Knight f6 is a clever trap by Yubatis' opponent to try to get him to play rook a3. There he is, the founder. Now that Bob is dead, move 11 is the last of the founders. You're like the monkeys. You should request, like, the government release info on you. I used to do a4, h4 all the time. No, but alright, Yubatis is now like saying I'm just playing real chess now. We took a little bit of momentary time out with a4, but we're not going to play like a complete troll. The problem is like playing a4, a5, a6 isn't so easy. You know, you're not necessarily going to be able to really get anything going there. And this is a solid setup. I think c6 is a good choice. It shuts down the bishop on g2, and it makes a4 look kind of useless. It's kind of hard to envision how exactly a4 benefits white in this position. You know, if black were to play, I don't know, somehow it feels like if black were to play c5, control of b5 almost seems a bit more relevant. Maybe so objectively white should probably get on with his development here. Just knight f3. Another grandmaster, Lev Gutman, and the women's grandmaster, Chalishkina. Wow, white's 2-0 in this position. You request a special master to review your game. Your request is too late. Your game is already under review. The Justice Department has already taken your game scores into their jurisdiction. Yeah, Goodman plays weird openings a little. Although, I've seen him play weird stuff with black. He does weird King's Indian stuff. With like c6 and... I've seen some stuff with like c6 and d6 and knight a6. This doesn't surprise me. You know, I mean, another place where I'll see, you know, a4, for example, is this Romanician system. If you go d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, like g3, if you got the symmetrical, just saying, there's people who play it here. Caruana, Bashir, Kramnik, Naidich. You know, if it's a move here, and I think it's also going to be a move in the normal symmetrical King's Indian, for lack of a better I don't know what to call it. You know, like castle, d4. No, let's say like here. Yeah, Romanician does it here. I've played this myself, actually. I mean, there is a possibility that a4... The position could become a Pierce, actually. Like knight c3, e4. So this move is not that crazy, really. Alright, a5 is going a little too far. But I'm not sure that black can really take advantage of it very easily. So he just plays like his standardized setup. And I think at this point, like, if you're white, you gotta really, you know, come down to reality a little bit. Get serious. Knight a3 looks weird. This is not a good idea. Now black could have snapped the pawn on a5, and I think he would be justified to do so. Not good. You got a little too creative. I think we can still play like d3. Like the time I went like d3, bishop d2 against Selecki. That he YouTubed the video. Knight a3, e5. a6. Okay. Knight takes a6, thank you. c4. Slightly unsound. e4. C takes d5. I don't understand e4 for black. Like, you're up 2 pawns, or just one? Just one. You're up a clear pawn and ahead in development, and you're going to, like, randomly play e4. I don't understand why. Just consolidate. This is like, pointless. White is, like, playing the Aliekins a pawn down. Check. And now, castling is apparently frowned upon. So white played king f1. I guess we have a tactical problem. This is a really dubious game by white. Bishop d2, pawn takes pawn. You know, you actually could play queen a4 check, then queen d7. Then you'd have to trade queens. Unless you have some really funky move like knight b5, no. You probably have to trade queens, which you don't really want to do here. So he played king f1. Sorry. Yeah, maybe that's a good practical decision. And now castles, and black has a winning position. Here... Wow, you were sure I submitted a different game. Yeah, this is an interesting adventure. Did you at least win this game? Yeah. h6, bishop f4. Trading pieces doesn't look particularly appealing there. Yeah, this looks like one of my worst blitz games when I was playing like poker at the same time and just got lucky. Black's played very principally, you know. He's totally winning. He's up a clear pawn. His king is safer. Played really sensible chess. Look at that king. You literally can't move. You're like paralyzed with those two bishops. And now black played knight takes f4. But man, I mean, it makes you wonder if black has something better here. He could play knight here, trying to get his knight into d3. How can black lose this? We're going to see. Well, I mean, I think this exchange is kind of questionable. Because the bishop on f4... Well, isn't it, like, trapped, actually? No, because he has bishop e5. But I'm not sure that that knight on d5 is not better than the bishop on f4. I think we'll see, like, black lets his guard down. Takes, rook a d8. Now, white has rook takes a6, no? No. Black has a serious idea here. That's a sweet variation. Rook takes a6, rook here, check. Minor problem. Now suddenly we have freedom. If knight c5, queen b4. So this is the point where, like, black, okay, played sensible moves, but all of a sudden he has to think, you know, why is my knight on a6? I'm up a pawn, but I'm only up a pawn. Black bishops are kind of weird. You don't necessarily want to do this, let's say. Black's made all, like, kind of natural looking moves, but now, like, okay, now what? You know, what do you do? Bishop c5, like, what does that do? It just gets your bishop out of take. You got a rock solid pawn chain you're facing there. Suddenly white is a threat. Wow. Okay. I mean, black is only up a pawn. It's not game over. I was actually thinking about this. Maybe Yabata should focus on this, like, these knights, you know. I'd rather, like, he takes here and just take. White's knights look kind of vicious. Black's knight is sitting on the side of the board. e4 is hanging. Like, suddenly I'm not even sure who's better here if you play knight e5. This pawn is extremely dangerous. Although you could play knight e5. That's probably a solid choice as well. It is kind of funny how white just completely got out of trouble. Rook g1 now very subtle. Gotta give white credit for that very subtle move. Black never saw knight f5 coming. Man, you'd love to play, like, bishop takes e6, but then you get splattered with this. Not like rook takes g7 is game over, but now that bishop, I never liked bishop c5, to be honest. It's like, what does it do there? See, black's pieces are stupid. The knight on a6 and the bishop on c5. Yeah, this is unfortunate. He had to block the check there. And now knight h5. You see this queen can join. So what's the problem with black's play in this game? Decent, but, like, very sort of blocky, like, kind of routine. I'm not sure, like, there's any defense against queen c3. Man. Looks like black's, like, lost. If only black could play queen d1 check, he would survive. Obviously white has knight f6 check here, which is pretty decisive. I like black's thinking, though. Playing for the mate. But this is even better. Yeah, not the highest quality game we've ever seen here on the stream. Ubanus was desperate for a submission. Alright, man. That was an interesting game. I think you should submit it to... what's his face? The bald guy. Cheese Explained. He should do, like, a analysis on YouTube. Chessborn Uncle J. Horsies. Alright guys, let's continue. We've got Big Dummy, Mr. Coffee, Sumaher, Astrobate, and Jim. What about you, Move 11? Just here for the company? Move 11 is still with us or not? Move 11 has left the building. Move 11th. Guys, please support the stream. Don't forget to donate and subscribe. Alright, this is a player who's not always here. Big Dummy. I don't know who they are, where they're from. Really little info. The minimum. All I know is that they have a ability to play really well. They've played well against me in my simuls, the Big Dummy. So here, Black is playing against the FIDE Master. That move makes me like physically ill. FIDE Masters who play like E4, C4 with white, their title should be taken away. I know a Hungarian one who I beat really badly when he played this against me. That's like, honestly, for me it's like, it's worse than the London system. It's just gross. You know, so I wonder, typically most people go into a fianchetto, like myself included. Isn't he just ensuring a Marazzi bind? But I mean, this dogmatic, speaking of the Marazzi bind, you know. The Marazzi bind, it's like, you can't just like force the Marazzi bind, right? I mean, the Marazzi bind is something that happens when Black allows it to happen. If we play like E4, C5, Knight F3, what's a good example? Knight C6, D4, C takes D, Knight takes D, and now Black plays a passive move, right? D6. Black plays a move that doesn't put pressure on White in this position. Not E5, not Knight F6, not even E6, which theoretically this is Marazzi bind, I guess, you know. Although it doesn't have particularly good reputation, this particular variation. Megarini played that against me. E4, C5, Knight F3, E6, and C4. And I lost. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was like a 2000 player, or 1900. Okay, the Marazzi bind, there are different levels of Marazzi bind. You know, there's like justified Marazzi bind, and like just Black gets optimal setup and very good pressure on the center Marazzi bind. This is too early for it to be a good Marazzi bind. Black can choose any type of setup he wants here. I mean, I think in like a blitz game, like Wing Gambit would probably be, like if this was like a 5-0 game. Not that bad, honestly. Black could probably play this. I really don't hate it that much, to be honest. But yeah, so we could choose. I agree, move 11. I was thinking, E6 is a good move because what's White trying to do? You know, he's trying to control D5 at all costs. So there's two ways you could approach this perspective, right? The first way to approach it is be like, all right, White's like totally like ignoring the D4 square, and that's what I do and most people do. We just like focus on D4, batten it down, and make sure that White has no control of D4. But you know, move 11 is right. Like, there's another approach here that we could take. We could say, okay, we're gonna fight you, and we're gonna fight you for D5, and we're gonna challenge you on that strong point, and I think it's valid. E6 is totally valid. It's a different way of playing. Alright. But another move that, like, maybe, like, G6 is not as accurate as knight C6. Asterbate would probably play knight F6 here. Gusev versus Mikhail Tal, 1991. I wonder... This is cool, man. This is Tal. He played this move order in a game in 1991 and actually lost. Wow. What? There's even a game of you. I mean, that's weird, dude. Wow. I have a very bad memory. I didn't do that by coincidence. I must have prepared this and forgot about it. I was trying to get... So apparently, I was doing this purposely. I was trying to induce the young Prohashka to maybe like overextend himself with e5. I was hoping white would play e5 and then play it like a Brooklyn variation of the Aliekin. I think c5 is more useful than c4. That's funny. I have no idea if I realized that it had been played by Tal. But e5 is probably a mistake, obviously. I think I must have prepared this, but it was so long ago, I can't remember. I remember the game was a draw. Alright, anyways. So the way black played is more traditional. Knight c6, knight c3, e5. E5 makes me physically ill. I don't think that e5 is a good move. You're like justifying white's play. I think white's setup isn't really the best. And if you play e5, it's symmetrical and white's got the move. Yeah, move 11. I think that's like the best line. If you play e6 on move 2, it will be a form of Lord McKennis. Knight c6, knight f3, knight f6, d4. Or white can play like bishop e2 or something, d5. There's a lot of ways this type of position happens. Yeah. You could get like that. I had a game with Bokrosh with white. So I've had some games with white out of the English in this type of move order. You know, but I think as long as white is playing d4, he's okay. It's better for white, slightly better for white. But I mean, if white, you know, fights back and gets control of d4, he's okay. But I don't like e5. You know, you're justifying white's play. This move looks like, honestly, you could play a king's gambit here with f4. Okay, it's probably not the best move, but I'm just saying it's feasible. It's a Vienna. Why not f4? How much does like c4 and c5 change the position, really? Asterbate, what do you think? This is just time I feel ill. Black playing completely symmetrical. And now you didn't play rook b8? Unbelievable. The normal thing to do would be like rook b8, a3, a6, b4, c takes b, a takes b, b5, c takes b, a takes b. We just go on forever, like indefinitely. But, okay, our hero here castled. A3, A6, B4, Rook B8. Is this serious? Wow, B5. Oh, he played it slow. So white tries to punish him. This is an interesting question. Is b5 a good move or not? I think after rook b8 it has to be okay. But is it? Well, you should probably take back with the pawn, right? I was expecting this. But I suppose black's fine, according to the computer. I mean, clearly, like, b5 isn't necessary. It's the best move according to the engine, though. But obviously, like, structurally, like, white is better. I mean, black is better because the pawn on a3 is isolated. Anyway, this game, to me, is really ugly. This is why I don't play, like, the Botvinnik variation of the English. I mean, it's just insipid for both sides. It's a tough decision which way to take. This pawn could potentially come under attack. But if black has time to play knight c6, it's not an issue. What about bishop f4 right away? I don't understand, like, why would white not play bishop f4 right away? Black has to play bishop e5. It's kind of an awkward move. If you wait, like he did, now black plays knight c6 and has no purpose. Bishop f4 has no purpose here because of knight e5. So that was pretty weird. He plays it now, and black doesn't play knight e5. Maybe bishop g7. Actually, this reminds me a little bit of your move 11, your game that we saw the other day. So move 11, it's like your move 11 had a kind of Rossolimo closed Sicilian structure that was a little bit similar to this, where black didn't have he had traded off his trump point on f4. You could see something with some similarity. I mean, structurally, white has a little superiority here. I think in a vacuum, black, you know, kind of like, in a vacuum, you prefer to recapture toward the center. But obviously there are issues there as well. White might be able to play bishop d2, bishop e4, pressure this, or a4, and bishop a3. You have to kind of decide on a case-by-case basis which way to recapture. But I don't see why black played knight d4. There's really no reason to play that. I think with black here, you just develop bishop e6, h6, maybe f5, queen d7. Like all very, very normal Botvinnik moves. Yeah, so I mean, like, white looks a little better now. This pawn majority on the king side. Maybe slightly safer king for white. So the computer hates f5. This game was analyzed by the engine. But you can see, I mean, clearly f5, natural attacking plan, he wants to play f6 check, but it leaves a huge hole on the e5 square. So, like, black didn't do it, but, like, what if f6? You know? f5 is a big positional mistake because it leaves this square, and you're not going to get f6 check and checkmate black. So he should just be more patient. Like the classic rook shift, rook b2, rook f2, queen d2. Also possibly like h4, h5 for white on the king side. There's lots of stuff he can do. He was impatient. He was banking on f6, you know, but I guess the problem is, like, I don't know why he went king g8. King G8. You should go to H8 so you can like meet, you know, Queen D2, Queen H6 with the standard sort of like Rook G8. So there's no mate. I mean, White can still get mate. Queen D2, Queen H6, Rook F4, Rook G8, Queen H7, followed by Rook H4 mate. He's trying to set it up. And then all of a sudden he plays that. But what about Queen H6? It's too slow, right? If Queen H6, Rook G8, and if Rook F4 threatening Queen takes H7, Black has this annoying Knight G4 move. If you grab this, obviously, you know, boom, boom, mate. That's an all-time classic. But it's easy to prevent. Knight G4. And now the white queen is big problem. F6 is falling, and if Queen H4, G5. So White just played too quickly. But this move, wow. G5. I'm gonna have to turn on the engine here. This is just analysis, sorry. The game was King G8, right? Alright, H3, yeah. Now his bishop is completely blocked in. And Black has time for H6, King H7. He's totally out of the woods. Oh, this just wins a pawn. 5 minutes followers only mode. Nice. Keep him in line, Mr. Coffee. So now Black just picks off the F6 pawn and he's winning. This honestly feels to me like a 3-minute blitz game. Peter says negative 4.2. Black's only up a pawn, but White's bishop is buried. So Big Dummy just crushing another title player. Nothing new here. Look at the graph. Nils! Better late than never. Really feels like a blitz game to me. Oh, this is why he submitted the game. Probably the final combo. That is crazy. Wow. Wow. Queen takes H3 check. Half for me, half for Bezos. Subscribed. A tier 1. Do you guys have any like tissues? Kleenex, maybe? Oh. Can we get a donation for... We'll send something to wipe the tears away for Nils. He's really sorry for that money he's donated to subscribe to the stream. I don't want my subscribers to be sorry. You know, no regrets here. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing special. There's no queen takes H3. That was only working if like White played queen G5. You have this like boom, boom, boom. All jokes aside, Nils, thank you. Sorry. Bob died, so we only have one founder left, move 11. And, you know, we are in need of, you know, like a kind of obnoxious viewer. We're running out of them. They're just dying right and left. Bishop takes F3. How does this work? This looks kind of scary, actually, for Black. until you see that move. That's pretty funny. Wow. Man, White thought he was getting away with something here. You're not getting away. Big dummy just brutally crushing another title player. What was the graph on that? Black had 4 inaccuracies, 3 mistakes, 1 blunder. But it feels like it went steadily downhill pretty consistently. See the move times. Can I get move times? What, am I crazy? Why can't I see move times? Where's move times? Really? I can't see move times? I can't see the graph of move times? That's weird. I know it's a lichess study. Thank you, lichess. How do I see the move times? I can't? It's like illegal? Black had 4 minutes left. White with 8. Played really badly. White did. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Like, average cent upon loss for Black was much better than for White. I mean, White played like an old, crusty FIDE master. That's what you get for playing e4 and c4 against the Sicilian, honestly. Alright, Krusty the Clown, 0. Mr. Coffee submission. Mr. Coffee, remind me. Never mind. You're black, right? Remind me what color you were. I was gonna say. Oops. Alright, guys. Please pay up, Nils. Guys, we got a resub from Nils and Spectacular Camel today. Also, Mr. Coffee with 200 bits. Thank you, sir. Sire. We're gonna get a new goal. Streamer goal. $10,000 streaming setup. Gamer computer. No. I'll keep it modest. Alright. So, Mr. Coffee, you're playing black against the English now. Why? Now, you made a comment when you sent me this game, no? You're a Kali system player with white, so when I see people meeting the English with c4 e5, I'm like, what the bleep? Trying new material. Alright. Yeah, dude, you're playing white a tempo down. You're playing e4 a tempo down. So it's definitely out of character. But fine, you know, by all means, play e4 with white. You know, of course, it's good for you. Yeah, I had this game. The game I lost to the Taiwanese guy in round 1 of my tournament last week. He played the d5, pawn takes pawn, knight takes, bishop g2, bishop c5, which I never really paid much attention to the world championship between Caruana and Carlsen. I haven't really looked at this variation. I mean, this is sort of new-ish. The guy, of course, picks a variation I'm really not very familiar with. Alright. I guess Caruana was the one who started that, right? It's a computer move. That bishop c5 thing. Okay, so now, Mr. Coffee, you're playing the black side of a four knights English. G3 is objectively like white's best move. G3, E3 are the best moves, and then white has like these second tier moves like E4, D3, A3, you know, whatever, D4. But honestly, here I think you gotta play D5 or Bishop B4. Bishop B4 is basically a Rossalimo, you know, in reverse. And D5 is a Sicilian dragon, accelerated dragon or whatever, you know, in reverse. And then finally, like, some people do the Bodler. I have a video on an older video on my YouTube channel where I talked about this line with knight TC5. Magnus doesn't play that, though. He does, like, Bishop G2. But I guess here, again, we could get into the... Well, that's interesting. This doesn't work because of knight takes c5 now. If c takes d, we would transpose to that variation I had last week. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, like, it's either bishop e4, d5, but g6 is unusual in this particular move order. What I'm not 100% clear on is it bad for any particular reason? I've been playing the English all my life. If you play a closed English with g6, normally I would say, like, you don't want to block your bishop and you don't want to block your f pawn. There's also the possibility that white has d4. So this is a distinct possibility. Pomniachi Carlson. The jury's out on d6. You could try to maintain the center. How bad is this? Ullman versus Weissman, 1978. D takes c5, knight takes c5. It was an ending. White's better, but maybe you can hang on here. So I mean, so d4 is an attempt to, like, bust your move order. If you have to surrender the center, okay, you made a concession. So now you're playing, I don't know what it is, you know, some kind of King's Indian, basically. Knight takes d4, bishop g7. This is, like, a little better for white. Fuego Saviano. Takes. I looked at this the other day, ironically. Bishop here, castles, and then, like, sometimes white does queen a4. There was a really ugly game where Igor got his queen on a5. This is, like, you don't want to be in this position with black against a strong positional player. So your move order is sketchy. If you wanted to play g6, you should really maybe think about employing a different move order altogether. Against c4, you can play, like, g6 on move 1. Of course, there you've got to worry about transposing to the modern. You can't just force g6, though, in every position. It's kind of like white playing g3 against Sicilian, like e4, c5. You know, you can't always do g3 because black can try to bust you with d5. Anyways, all right, let's take a look at the game. So your move order is maybe somewhat risky, but playable. White doesn't try to punish you, though. Bishop g2, bishop g7. Now this is his last chance to play. I shouldn't say that, but, you know, d4 is becoming less scary further we go here. You don't think the bishop on c1 isn't a great piece? You have Rossalimo-itis. Castle D3. Fear of ghost bishops. Okay, so he let you transpose to a normal kind of closed line. I'm trying to remember. I talked about this with some strong players, but oh shit! I had this variation. Oh my god. This is my second round loss. So Mr. Coffee has managed to reach like. Wow, you managed to reach like two of my two losses in the same game. You've transposed into game 2. Against this Serbian woman, I played bishop g5, even though it's like nothing. I drew that game. That's an old idea. It's nothing special. Years ago, like 5 years ago, I had the game with this. It's nothing for white. So rook b1 is right, and then a5. This is what my opponent played, a5. I played a3, and the Serbian kid played this against me. I was like, what is that? The Grandmaster Bagirov did a really good series on the English years and years and years ago. Very complete, like 3-book series on the English. But as much as I tried to remember, like I couldn't remember. I remember methodically studying that opening set, and I don't remember like bishop f5 being a move, but I didn't exactly know how to deal with it. Anyway, that was my game. I got a good position. I ended up losing a better endgame. I had a winning position at some point, anyway. Whatever. So Mr. Coffee went bishop g4. The normal thing to do is a5, a3, h6. Then white plays b4, you take, and then bishop e6. And this is the Bagirov like main line. b5, knight e7, bishop e2, queen d7. And this is just like the starting position for the theory. Bagirov like went 20 moves deep. I lost a game to this Mexican guy whose name escapes me now. He has a weird name. Dennis something. I remember in Spain in like the 90s. I was afraid like the Serbian kid would go into this and know what he was doing, because it's like been years since I played it. But no, he did that weird bishop f5. But what you did here, it looks completely random. Bishop g4 is bad. This move, I don't think this constructively helps you. Dennis Rader. Who's Dennis Rader? Dennis Verdugo. That's it. Dennis is a weird name for a Hispanic player. Not a common name, for like Mexicans. That's why it was weird. It's not like Julio or something. Dennis Verdugo. He beat me in a nice game. He knew what he was doing. But I think h3, white, this is a constructive move. It's not like a weakening. And you can't go to e6 because you haven't played h6, and you walk into like knight g5 at some point might be available for white. So I think you have to play bishop d7, and it's like, well, what are you doing? White has a good game here. Black's counterplay is not that clear. Dennis Rader, is that like a chess player from South Jersey? Bishop g4, BTK. And white like counter bishop g5 to you. Totally random. Alright. Uh-oh. Mr. Coffee's opponent has been hanging out with XL Poker. That is a really, really random move for white. I like queen b3, but you're definitely not playing it with like the pawn on b2 and the rook on b1. Like, it's totally normal to play b4 and maybe follow up with queen b3 later on, trying to control the center. But you don't play like rook b1, prepping b4, and then put your queen in front of the pawn. I mean, I get it that he's like controlling that and attacking this pawn, but this is nothing special. So just rook b8. Now his queen is stupid. I mean, you have an awkwardly placed rook, but he has a ridiculously placed queen, you know, so which is worse? e3. So I think at this point, I don't know. You're close to winning a piece, aren't you? You have a tactic. Bishop takes f3. Uh-oh. Bishop takes f3. Mr. Coffee specializes in tactics. Bishop takes f3, bishop takes here. He could also play bishop takes f6. This is really exciting. Bishop f3, bishop f6, bishop g2, bishop g7. Uh-oh. Bishop f1, bishop f8. There's also weird in-between moves. Like white could play like knight d5, threatening to like fork your king and queen. No. I don't know. So let's see. Wow. Oh, snap. Bishop takes f6 is no good. He has to recapture. Then you play queen f5. Then he plays bishop takes f6. Then you play queen takes f3. But see, I thought like this is pretty good for you. I mean, I guess he has knight d5. Then we have to go here. Okay, it's approximately equal. I don't think it's any problem, and you're comfortably equal. Alright, you played instead a6. This is maybe more combative with ideas of b5. But I feel like if you're going to set up bishop g4 and queen d7, like you ought to make bishop h3 happen. Like at this point, dude. Having played bishop g4, queen d7, like if anything, he should go rook fe1 and then try to avoid your exchange of bishops or whatever. I mean, that's like kind of standard policy in these sort of lines. He puts his other rook on e1. Yeah, I mean, you should definitely just go bishop h3. Another possibility is to move your knight away. I don't know. But it's like his knight's coming into d5. Yeah, Mr. Coffee, I don't know why you didn't want to just like execute the plan. Maybe white meets bishop h3 with e4. Absolutely, but that's fine. If Mr. Coffee goes bishop h3 and white meets it with e4, then you could be like, screw you, I'm not going to trade bishops, Vadim Milov. And I take it back. I'm going to play for the control of d4. That's similar to the position I got against the Serbian guy. Now the d4 square is a little bit weak. Just because you played bishop h3 doesn't mean you signed a paper that says you're going to play bishop takes g2. If he's going to do e4, you know, he should probably wait until you exchange on g2. Let's say white does a3. Then you take, then he takes, then black does, I don't know, you know, some move, and then e4. Once white has assured himself that the light square bishops are off the board, you know, then he'll play e4, probably. This is a really weird move. Mr. Coffee goes fishing. Looks like he's got a tactic, though. He's got the tactic with queen f5. It's funny to see Coffee fishing. Oh my god, no. So, okay. What happens here? Bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, queen f5, triple attack. Bishop f6. Yeah, nothing special. It just peters out. Bishop f6. Bishop f6. Bishop e4. White's maybe a tiny bit better, I don't know. He has better bishop. So this was kind of weird. Now a3, and now queen f5, and now he played e4. Okay. Yeah, I think he could take. Right. But Mr. Coffee was patient. And that's fine. So now you take and play knight d4. Dude, this is like the toughest kind of game to analyze. I mean, it's like a closed positional Petrosian-like situation. There's a lot going on. I mean, I could spend like an hour analyzing this game. I don't know. Mr. Coffee has a very similar position to what I got in my tournament. The hole on d4 compensates for the white squared bishop. But I think that white still has enough space that he's not worse, you know. White obviously also could consider bishop here, but I think he's going to get in trouble. Maybe he could get in trouble with queen h3, I don't know. But I mean, from the bishop's perspective, the Lawrence Trent, you know, formation is it's a better bishop than on g2. You can do what I did and get it out on h3. c6 is standard, but white, you know, this is going to be very similar to the Yavadas game, or who was it? The big dummy game now, where white has some f4. And maybe white should like take back that offer to exchange dark squared bishops at some point. Like, I was just kidding about that. Okay, you got to get counterplay on the queen side. I think you also have to be prepared for f5. So this is a tricky situation, man. You know, knight g8 is not a stupid idea. Aloha, kingside friends. We can. Oh, you did knight g8. Wow. Like 2 moves later, he did it. This is a normal close Sicilian maneuver. Knight g8, I played many times. You got to be able to play f6, and that will protect your kingside. It's totally standard. But you know, you can also try to play on the queen side more dynamically. Wow, queen c7 looks kind of slow. I think you should either do this and reposition or initiate, you know, counterplay. But queen c7 looks awfully like luxurious. But the next move is definitely committal. I mean, this could backfire. Like, black ends up with white having a backward d3 pawn. Maybe f5 is not as strong with the dark square bishop exchange. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that white should have maybe called it off, like I was saying, and then just gone like there. I think he should change plans and not trade the dark square bishop at some point. I'm not really sure like why he played bishop h6 in the first place. To be honest, I didn't even like say anything about it at the time, but Why is white even playing bishop h6? You know? I mean, I don't really get it. It doesn't do anything. So, okay. Mr. Coffee's trying to play for the dark squares. White has this, like, primitive attack. But, like, this pawn is bad. b4... I don't even see the point in playing b4 at this point. White's worse. Yeah, it's like 2 knights versus bad bishop and knight. Backward d file. Whoops. Oh no, Mr. Coffee chickened out. Knight takes a3. Is your knight trapped? Then you shouldn't have gone there. Yeah, you helped him. Can we grab this pawn with a threat of maybe like queen b6 check? If c5, a5, well, whatever, you just bring your knight back. Is your knight trapped? No. It looks like it's not trapped. Is there a potential for it to be trapped? I mean, queen b6 check. I think you didn't pull the trigger, man. If you're gonna play knight c2, you gotta grab the pawn. What's the problem? Takes. Threatening queen b6 check. Let's say he plays king h1. Okay, it's a little murky, but I can't imagine your knight's getting trapped. Like, you could play a5. It's unlikely that's trapped. No, even like this type of variation, you could play here. I could see you. Also possible to play rook e7. Well, you're just better positionally, though. I'm not sure about h5. He's not really threatening anything. You're putting a pawn on the light squares. It looks like your business is over here. This is a definite possibility. But rook d8 is good. Got to get your knight. You got to make your knight, you know, strong. Knight on d4, bro. So knight, how does he get there? Can't play knight f6. This doesn't do anything. You gotta find a plan here. a5. Black's clearly better, but I don't know if you're winning. But this is awkward. Yeah, well, young John Daly, if you're interested in playing some kind of like training game, message me on lichess or send me an email. But I can't do it just tonight. I could arrange something in the next few days. If anybody's always interested in training games, that's definitely possible. Send me email or message on lichess, or even on Twitch, but I can't do it tonight. H4 is a nice move. By the way, like, you know, he wasn't set up for it. But he should have... Rook f3 is awkward. I guess he should have played bishop takes f3. I mean, white should really try to play h4. Try to play h4 and put a pawn on the dark squares and try to get his bishop out there. Move 11 with 5 gift subs. Bogachog, Ensemble Chess, Jim, Gita B, and Gulder Khan. Alright. So this is kind of long maneuvering game, but you're making progress, bro. Coffee on the attack. Uh-oh. Oh no. We can't lose our central pawn. Ouch. We lost our central pawn. You can play f6. You're all in. How bad is f6? I mean, if there's a check, you can play knight f7. He has tactics with e5. Wow. Looks like it doesn't work, though. You have a check, pick it up. It's a very messy situation. Mr. Coffee let it get out of control. You played very solidly, and then all of a sudden you shifted into psycho-aggressive mode. But there's really no reason to panic here. I guess queen g5 is where you started to lose the thread. You're basically like up a piece, but you can't lose your central pawn on e5, so it looks like f6. You made some slight inaccuracies. You know, even here it's starting to get a little bit unclear. You have a very concrete advantage, but probably time pressure. The knight on h6 was a little awkward too, but this central pawn is huge. You basically lost your advantage there. You're happy to get a draw now. This is greedy though. If I'm white, I'm probably taking the draw. Check, king g8, check, king, king here. You got 3 pieces coming down to get him, and you've got knight g4. This looks really scary for white. It's not going to matter how many pawns he's up on the queen side if he's getting mated or something. So this is really greedy. Queen e1 check. I don't know if that's the right idea, though. Do you have knight g4? You don't have it because he's on f7. Oh, snap. Oh, no. So it's far worse than I thought. He's actually got you tied down. Yeah, knight h6 looks like it didn't work out well. But you had to plan this out better. Like, even just losing a pawn there doesn't matter. I mean, if you don't play queen g5, you just play a simple move. He takes it. Okay, whatever. You know, the important thing is that d4 is protected. He can't get in. So what if he's up and doubled h pawn, There's no way you're going to lose this position. You can't lose your central pawn, though. That's like the whole anchor of your entire position. I think at this point, like, white is probably better. But then he gets greedy. I mean, what about, like, queen d7 or something? Protect this, and he's coming down on the queen side with the passer. You're in trouble. Maybe this move, though, I mean, giving up the d3 and giving you that knight g4. Really, really careless. I mean, now you're threatening perpetual check at least with rook takes h3. Bam. That's actually mate. Wow. No, seriously, if he had just played one careful move here, queen d7, I mean... Dude, you are not winning this game. Like, there's no way. I mean, I guess you could try... You could try g5. G5, g4. Is that a real thing? But... Yeah, man. Does he have a draw now? Rook f3. Man, he might even have rook takes f7, right? Doesn't he have rook takes f7? Rook f7, king f7, queen e7, check. Where do you go? Where do you go? Like f6? Queen takes g4. I mean, are you winning here? I kind of... That's a lot of pawns the homie has. It seems like a million pawns. You're up the exchange for a million pawns. I mean, that's kind of crazy. You're lucky, yeah. But you gotta make your luck. Nice job. Alright. Alright, Mr. Coffee, as you said. Great players are lucky. We've got Sumaher, Asterbait, Denise is done. Sumaher, Asterbait, and Jim. Yeah, Mr. Coffee, but cool. It was an experiment. You know, you're playing something you don't know. You don't know. Thank you. 300 bits. 5 gift subs from the young Move 11. Getting the gift subs. Getting the hype train started. With Mr. Coffee. Wow, been a long time since a hype train. Sumaher is black. The excitement mounting on the black side of the Queen's Gambit declined. Tarash. Wow. Now we're talking. That's dynamic, right? Well, could be Catalan, could be Tarash. You call it reverse Grunfeld if you want to. C takes d5. E takes d5. b3. Felt to be a slightly inferior defense, right? Yeah, the Tarash, I mean, sort of. But I think it's... I don't know, man. It's really not that bad. You gotta really know what you're doing if you play it. It's not that bad. Slightly inferior. Yeah, maybe. But not like the Dutch or something, you know? It's not like the Aliakin's defense. It's obviously, like, not as safe as playing... Yeah, it's debatable. Okay, so b3 is a move. It's not considered particularly dangerous variation. So this... I feel like I lost once. Wow. I had this weird flashback. I think I played this against Kosic once and lost. I had no idea what I was doing. Like, Dragon must have played knight e4. And we had, like, bishop e2, bishop f6. It's, like, circa 2005. I don't remember most of my games. There was one today we saw that I didn't remember. Move 2. But this is technically like the way black's supposed to play. So knight e4 is more accurate. You want to hit him on that diagonal before he has time to unravel. Yeah, I mean b3 is kind of a rare move. I guess this is more common. Although it can be similar, you know, like d takes c5, bishop takes c5, b3, and then, for example, like castles, bishop b2. I don't know. But I mean, the main line is knight c3. So anyway, b3, cd. You know, it makes you wonder, like, white doesn't have to recapture automatically. What if white just goes bishop b2 or something and plays in the move order here? 0 games where this happened. I mean, I don't think the CD can be a bad move, really. But I wonder, is bishop b2 possibly Hungaski. Oh, alright. Move 11. We'll have to ask Hungaski. He loves positions like this. Is it more accurate to play b3 and bishop b2? But I can't imagine there's anything wrong with knight takes d4. I mean, maybe you get smoked tactically somehow. Knight d4, queen d4, knight e4, hoping for bishop f6. I kind of doubt that works. But you never know. You know, you never know. Could that possibly work for black? It's a really strong threat of bishop f6 skewering the queen and the rook on the diagonal. I mean, to be on the safe side, white can employ the move order of bishop b2. There's a game from Argentina, it looks like. Anyway, knight takes d4. Yeah, I mean, black could also be tricky and try to go like here, but then white can simply play bishop b2. Alienkin. I played him. I always thought that was the coolest name. Alexander, not Aliekin, Alexander Alienkin. I don't remember. I think it was a draw with Alienkin. Kin of aliens. Alexander Alienkin. Alright. Knight c3 transposing back into some other variation. You have to ask yourself. You have to ask Ilumshinov. Was he abducted with Alienkin? That's why Ilumshinov left FIDE. He's now in the outer stratosphere with the alien abductees. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a little bit weird, like white's move order here. Why would you play b3 and then not play bishop b2? There's literally 0 games where I played knight c3. I mean, you wanted to play knight c3, then why the hell did you play b3? That's weird. Alright, rook e8, bishop b2, bishop c5, and now what? Obviously e3 is possible. But that's pretty dry. The driest continuation. Like, what happens after that? Do we just like take and play ultra boring chess with total symmetry? Black's bishops look better than white's bishops. Like, this is on a dead diagonal, and so our black bishops look superior. So e3 is not very good. Knight takes c6 is the simplest. This is the side of the board. So it's like, suddenly transpose this line I play against the Grunfeld. Hanging pawn variation, e3 Grunfeld in reverse. This looks like a good move. Sometimes we have bishop a6. Sometimes the pawns move up and we can play bishop b7, but I'm feeling that unpleasant hanging pawnness here for black. This is a totally standard move, but you know, we're on the verge of losing material. There's knight a4 and queen takes c6. Sumihara has counterplay against the e2 weakness. Is it enough? The million-dollar question would be knight a4. The knight and the queen hit the bishop, so you have to move it. There's no way to defend it, really. And I don't know. Where do you go? Here? Isn't this just dropping? Now we have bishop d7. There's this in-between move, too. I think that Sumahara's in trouble. Like, his move order was probably a tad inaccurate. So if he's really careful here, he's only like half a pawn worse. He has to play an accurate move. Get the bishop out of dodge. Bishop e4, bishop f8, bishop b6. So it means that queen e7 is not good enough. But white just plays this lame routine move. That gives black the time he needs to be okay. Plus there's sacrificial possibilities. Man, I mean, white doesn't pull the trigger on this. This is such a strong and obvious move. Can't tell you enough. Don't play routine moves. Must calculate. I'm not sure bishop a6 is actually good, by the way. It's very possible that Sumahara should just make, you know, a routine move. Literally make a routine move himself here. This or this. You know, maybe bishop a6. Mamedyarov. Bishop takes, pawn takes. We're clear that there is danger here. But, you know, for example, bishop takes e3, pawn e3, queen e3, queen f2, hanging on. Or even rook e1, for example. So Sumahara plays the super subtle knight g4. What about bishop g4? Yeah, no, I mean, dude, totally. Like, bishop a6 is not really like, it's not a natural like development for the bishop. I think this is a more standard kind of plan. But objectively, black should be playing like consolidation style move here. The e3 is just bad, though. Does this really work? I'm. All right. The other thing is, like, obviously white could play rook e1. I mean, there's some danger, I guess, d4. But that's no guarantee either. I mean, white can go here. He's not just gonna like take and get checkmated necessarily. Rook e1 still might be useful. But okay, rook d1. Now here, and this is like so telegraphic. You know, another idea would be rook c1. Maybe he should go here, and then on knight g4 he can meet the threats of knight d1. Are we near Patrick Wolf territory? Patrick Wolf Kasparov. Move 11. Looks like we're getting close. This is way more useful, right? Rook f c1. Kasparov, Patrick Wolf. Kasparov would have played rook f c1, right? That's a tough move to find. I mean, who knows? You know, maybe black has like take here, but this knight d1 is really good defensive. Really good defensive try. Now knight g4. Oh, he has queen f2 again. And white might be able to hold on. Now he has no way to defend that with knight d1, so I guess rook d2. He played bishop c1, which is really ugly. Bishop c1 is awkward. I mean, you're like undeveloping your piece. It's the last, that would be like the last possible option. What about this? No, just clearly there's a lot of danger. This is a possibility, and then the vicious queen e1. style stuff. But again, white doesn't have to take it. I mean, he could maybe like have an in-between move, knight e4. But I admit it's looking pretty dangerous for white. What about knight d5 actually? Knight d5, pawn d5, queen takes c5. It looks like black might not be winning. But white has to defend very carefully. So this looks bad. Because now there's like this diagonal. Yeah. Now there's no knight d5. White just didn't have the defensive skills Sladge has. Kablam. Kablam. Queen sacrifice? Well, I would try it. We have to sacrifice the queen now. Queen takes. Ugh. Knight takes. Knight takes. What's the material? Oh no, queen e1 anyway. Oh no. That's brutal. It's winning. Yeah, so there's no defense. Oh, he did that. No, that's just my analysis. Yeah, he resigned. All right, good ideas from black, but I think that white. Furman Lipnitsky. Pretty new to my channel, ABC FIGM. Everyone's welcome. I'm curious about this position after knight g4. Let's go to the previous position after bishop a6. Rook fc1, right? Damn. The computer is unsure, but yeah. Black has a serious disadvantage after rook fc1. So it takes a lot of skills here for white. This is a classic weak point, the f2 square in the Grunfeld. Alright, Sumer, nice try. Acerbate is up next. Guys, we're going over games from subscribers. I've got a few left. Chess Zebra, thanks for joining us. You're wondering if CD is even good. Well, I mean, you know, if we're talking about the opening, I think that actually, well, according to the opening explorer, like, it wasn't good when he played it. Saw you first time during an event organized by Chess Hobbits. Oh, that was a disaster. Yeah, I'm not really a good Blitz player anymore. I don't play much Blitz. So, not my strong point. I'm focusing on like longer games. That was fun, but I try to stay away from the Blitz. I'm doing like rapid and over the board chess. Pole Victory. This is Acerbate playing white. E4, D5, E takes D5, Queen takes D5, and of course, like white is normally playing Knight C3. There's also Knight F3, but this is Acerbate's his personal favorite. D4 is not considered to offer white as good chances as the other moves. Black has time, I guess, you know, to organize pressure against the D4 pawn here. So E5 and Knight C6. With Knight C3, we don't give black time to put pressure on us. With Knight F3, we don't give him anything to put pressure on, I guess. But when you play D4, black has quickly, you know, e5 or knight c6, where he's like attacking your center. If black drifts though, like knight f6 in particular, routine developing move, I think I played that once. White still maintains an advantage. Yeah. Yeah, anything you read about my stream or my info is definitely true. Bishop e3. I am Rosen is rating with a party of 1,339. Are you sure? I am Rosen. 1,339. Is this like a lichess plays or something? Damn, that's a lot of people. That's the biggest raid we ever had. Hikaru was streaming today with like 7,000 players playing Genshin Impact. Next thing you know, like, we'll have a Genshin Impact Hikaru raid with 7,000 players. I'm just a modest chess player here. What's up? I am Rosen. Thank you for the raid, sir. Mr. Coffee, we'll have to drop the 5-minute. We'll have to drop the 5-minute follow rule. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thursdays, what I do is I take subscriber games and we go over them 15-20 minutes per game and seriously try to analyze stuff. Hikaru rated you earlier. Oh, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, he was playing Genshin Impact, which is like my daughter's favorite game. It's really funny. So I was showing her, I think this was the first time he played. He's like a noob in that PC game, and it was just really ironic. Bill2WK, thanks for gifting tier 1 sub to Rainbringer, Camel Culture. I always call him Camel Culture to be politically correct. And Intis said, but thank you, Eric Rosen, for the raid. Alright, guys, huge audience. Much appreciated raid from Eric and all of the you know who came over from the Genshin Impact. I don't know if I'm going to be streaming Genshin Impact anytime soon. But anyway, we're going to get back to the serious nature of my stream. I try to take analysis seriously on Thursdays. So we're going over one of the games of one of our subscribers, Acerbate. He's playing white here. This is a very rare variation, d4 against the Scandinavian. Black puts pressure on the center. Black is equal at least. Bishop e3, and this actually is the best move. This is the first time I have seen ever, I think, somebody at this level, at the 1700 lichess level, play black perfectly here. I mean, honestly, Acerbate is here. He's watching. I don't think we've ever had an example where black played exactly knight c6 and e5. This seems like best. Black should be in good shape here. He has his tricks though. c4. Normally people tend to play a lot of queen a5 check, queen e4 sometimes, although that just gets hit by a knight. Though it's possible, right? You could play queen e4 and bring the bishop down on b4. There's an actual game here. But anyway, like, so what's the point of black's setup? He's putting pressure on the white center. c4 distracts him. But it allows white to play d4, d5, and that solves his problem with black putting pressure on the center. So queen a5 check here, bishop d2, and now this is like a trap. Acerbate's trap. It's a really funny variation. I don't know. He's done this like a million times to people. It's just a really unique way of trapping the queen. It's funny. This position has been reached, but black's supposed to play bishop b4. And now I guess it's like level. I don't know. I mean, white's got some space with d5, but black knight has a good square here at d4. So I would imagine that black could also play knight to d4. It looks like all the games, my friend Zoltan Varga, there's another one, Kurt Hansen, an old game from 1981. Everybody played like bishop takes d2 check. But objectively, I would imagine this knight d4 is plausible. The problem might be like knight c3, and we can't do the exchange of bishops. So this is like the safest. Take, 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 and then white's probably around equal in this endgame. But anyways, we have this typical reaction by black. They played queen b6. You know, your queen's attacked, you're attacking b2, everything's cool, right? c5, queen takes b2. But where's the queen going? It has only one retreat square. Look at that. d4 or a1. Every other square is covered. So white to play, bishop c3, you're covering d4, you're covering a1, and now the black queen is trapped. Asterbate, I think you might have even had this position before. Black plays now a funny move, bishop g4. This is like literally the only way not to just lose immediately. But I don't remember what white's best move is. You know, so like theoretically, if you played bishop e2, I mean, what would happen after that? Bishop takes e2, and the queen could escape out here. Bishop e2 doesn't work. I guess you could play knight f3, no? Just knight f3. This is probably the simplest. It doesn't change the status quo, right? I think I like that better than f3. f3 weakens your position slightly. It's good enough. Take, take, bishop h5. White's up way too much material. d5, knight b4. Again, thanks to the raid from Eric Rosen. Good to see everybody. If you like the stream, come back. Please check out his streams as well. Alright, c6. Yeah, it's over. We're just winning a piece. So this is really brutal. But I love the trap, man. This is so unique. I mean, people just, they never ever see this coming. Queen takes, they think they're like winning material, and bang. Yeah, I mean, you just have to sack the queen for the rook. I guess bishop g4 might. Yeah, they're hoping for queen takes g4, queen c1 check. And then, you know, black can survive. But honestly, knight f3 is simplest. If takes, you just take back with the pawn. And now he has to lose. He loses the queen anyway. Alright, f3. HTFP, welcome to the stream. Everybody, I'm International Master William Pascal, streaming here on lichess. Bishop takes a1. Anyway, we're going to finish this game up. It's totally overkill. White's just up way too much material. So threatening mate in 1 there, by the way. It's a nice little concept. And now just bishop d6. I would just go here, but alright, this is more dramatic. c7, rook takes d4. Wow, it has to be, why not just like queen? He plays bishop takes b5 check, king f7, bishop e8. We're getting a little too fancy now. You could have just promoted before. And that's a mate. So g4 he didn't understand. This is the threat. Yeah, that's a spectacular game though. Thank you for sharing, man. Asterbate entertaining as always. Okay guys, we have one more game, unless Move 11 or some other subscriber submitted a game and snuck it in on me. This is Jim, one of our oldest and best subscribers. Jim from the Greek crew. Alright, Jim is black. Let's take a look from black's perspective. Another English with e5. You know, I don't recommend you play this way against the English unless you play e4 with white. This is basically a tempo up, or should I say a tempo down. A tempo down, white side of the Sicilian. I see a lot of people who say they play d4 with white, and then when faced with the English, they're suddenly playing e5, but it doesn't make sense to play e5 unless you're an e4 player. There's a lot of people who have inconsistent opening repertoires. You are basically playing the white side of the Sicilian a tempo down here. Knight c3. Jim plays e4 with white, so it makes sense. Knight f6, knight f3. This is the best move, putting pressure on the center. This is our second game in a 4 Knights English today. Knight c6 and then g3. I talked about this earlier too. I've played like literally every single move with white here. E3, G3 are the best. There's E4, D4, A3, D3. I think even Queen A4 is like a weird move. Jakob Murray has a game there. He's a very creative player. 2 games. That was mentioned in a really really old book I have from the 80s. I remember even Queen A4 was like a side note. That reminds me of this, like E4, C5, Knight F3. Once in a while you see someone play Queen A5 against the Sicilian. You know, it's probably good against like 6-year-old kids. If you want to play something that you're sure your opponent has never faced before, this is not particularly good. I actually like Queen C7 better. But if you want something that's guaranteed to surprise your opponent, I guess Queen A5. But I mean, doing it with an extra move is probably better. Anyway, okay, 4 Knights English with G3. Mr. Coffee, you missed a raid. Big raid. D5, C takes D5, Knight takes D5. Here we go again. Eric raided. This is funny though. This is exactly like the game I had with white last week in an over-the-board GM tournament, where I played Bishop G2, my opponent played Bishop C5. I think we had castle, and then I played Knight takes D5. And this is... well, there's a bunch of games here. I thought the Caruana was the first one to start playing this like Bishop C5 idea. I think it's computer generated. You know, it's really funny, like this particular variation. The trick is that it looks like white can win a pawn. Knight takes E5, Knight takes C3. You would think like Knight takes C6, but after Knight takes D1 now, we're threatening F2. So after Knight takes D8, I mean black would have the first like blow, you know, Knight takes F2 or something. So there's no way that white can like just win a pawn there. Alright, anyway, the game continuation, I'll suggest another offbeat line. This is an interesting move. I looked at a little bit. If you're white, you might want to think about throwing that out there as kind of a surprise. I really came close to playing it last week, just as a rare move my opponent maybe not being prepared for. Objectively, it's nothing special, but you know, black might be surprised. C takes D5, Knight takes D5, so it's like a standard reverse Sicilian. Now Knight takes D5. This is not usually played. I don't know how bad it could be, but I would definitely want to at least wait one move with white to make that exchange. So Knight takes D5, Queen takes D5. This piece is extremely strong here. What concerns me is if white plays D3, you have E4. I don't know. I mean, I have to like really like check this with the computer. It's possible there's even some sort of pawn sacrifice. You know, maybe black has some activity, like an Albin, that could be scary for white. I wouldn't play this with white unless I was sure it was safe. So I would wait to make that exchange on D5. White can also play Bishop G2, but on E4 you're going to have to come back to G1. This actually might be okay, but it doesn't look great. Best case scenario, white is okay here after bringing the bishop back. So take, Bishop G2, E4, no. Yeah, I just don't see a reason that E4 is not good. I would think you should play it. I mean, Knight H4 loses to G5. Don't see any tricks. He has to go back to G1. And it's basically a hyper-accelerated dragon with an extra move. negated. White can play f3. He might be equal, but he's certainly not better. Anyway, so Jim played bishop g4. Probably not as strong as e4. White can get out of the woods now with castles. If you castle, you have e1 to retreat. Obviously on e4. Do we have something here? Maybe knight in. Yeah, this actually looks kind of dangerous. f3. Pawn takes pawn. Black seems to have things under control. So maybe even now e4 is a threat. Interesting. Bishop g4, d3. So I was wondering again about e4. Now it's too late because you have tricks with like knight g5, knight d2 maybe. This could also be very complicated though. I'm not 100% sure what's going on in this position without like turning on the engine and just analyzing. And I don't like to do that unless I have to. I mean, for example, e4 here. Maybe black has something. I don't see it though. Knight here, e4 is like falling. And white has the first shot. It's not 100% clear. Maybe like bishop takes e4, queen c5, hitting c2, hitting e2. White has to be a little bit careful, you know. But Jim's playing fast. He's probably playing like a 3-0. This is a 5-0 game. Played too fast. Now bishop e4 check. Not a bad move. Bishop e4 check, bishop d2. Objectively, we don't want to waste time. But this queen is going to have to move eventually. No, I think like d6 is a normal square for the queen in the center somewhere. d6, e6, d7. d6 probably the best square. But he went out to a5. If white castles, bishop takes f3. Bishop takes f3. Bishop takes b4. I think the black queen is misplaced here slightly. So he doesn't do bishop takes f3. This is really crazy. I mean, I think the queen doesn't belong out on a5, but it's a fast-paced game. Black plays castles queenside. This is totally over the top. The black king is actually in a very dangerous position here. You know, objectively, it's a dragon. The C file. I would never play like this with black. But I think white has to be very accurate. You know, maybe he has some secret move. This doesn't possibly work, does it? Queen b3. Trying for pressure on b7. Could we trick black? Bishop takes d2, knight takes d2. There's nothing here. No, that loses a piece. Knight takes e5, some kind of trick. Here. Knight takes e5, queen e5, bishop takes c6. I don't know, but a3 looks kind of routine to me. I don't think this is the best move. Let's see. Actually, it's up there. White has nothing better than a3. And the engine thinks it's equal. So a3, bishop takes d2. And now if queen takes d2, queen takes d2, knight takes d2, bishop takes e2, bishop takes c6, doesn't work, you have to play this. Now d3 is falling. So he plays knight takes d2. Again, I feel like the queen is slightly misplaced, but you might get like a Tal-like thing where it slides over here. Tal did it in the Velimirovich attack in a famous game, I remember. with his queen. I mean, it was with a rook actually. I guess he transferred rook c4, rook h5, but same idea. Can you clear over? This is some point. Knight d4 is way more obvious. White's in trouble now. f3 is a very, very bad move to have to play. Rook e1, probably only chance. I don't think, like, okay, this is bad, really ugly, but maybe white can survive, for example. Or maybe here. Does that even work? Probably not. Knight takes d4. Okay, Jim, black is probably okay. I guess rook e1 holds. b4, queen b5. You know, here also, like, maybe here and swing across would be better than going to b5. Although really you'd like to get the rook pawn, you know, in before you bring the queen over. I think he had to defend e2, and there's the rook pawn. But see, wouldn't we rather have our queen here now? It's like Jim's trying to set up some kind of tactics on the diagonal, but objectively maybe coming down the h file with the queen on a6 or b, you know, a6 or b6 would be better. So h5, now a4. Yeah, I agree with this move. Totally makes sense. White's a 2200. Not a bad player. But I mean, you know, 100% you expect black to take this pawn. And he decided not to take it because of rook b1. This is very dangerous. So it brings us to the conclusion that, again, I think that black should have played queen a6. Because we end up like giving white a4 with tempo. And now you had to play anyway there. But this is beautiful. Over here. Yeah, I mean, if I was white, I'd be very concerned about this position. I mean, maybe you want to think about h4. Black's pieces are perfect. So he plays b5. This doesn't really do anything. Queen e6. If queen to h6, with the idea of h4, and if h4 g5, is white's counterplay on the queen side fast enough? I kind of doubt it. But okay, this looks reasonable. You have bishop h3. You're defending the e pawn. You're staying kind of close to the center. White needs a threat really badly here. I mean, knight e4, threatening knight c5. Black can simply play like b6. And this knight is going to get kicked out. That would weaken black, though, you know? Let's check with the computer. Yeah, he's got to play knight e4. This is the only good move. It's a very sharp position with kings opposite sides. You can't mess around here. The second best move was h4. But again, I think this is very dangerous. This is a clear threat of knight c5. And if black plays this, then a5. Like, we got real danger now. So how does he deal with knight c5? Not so easy. Black could play queen e7, but now at some point we're going to bring down the rook and continue. You know, maybe like that, like rook c1, b6, and now a5 is not as scary, for example. But alright, let's see what happened. a5, queen e6, a5. Not really a clear threat. h4, a6, and then he just locks it up with b6. So that doesn't do anything. Now it looks like it's really hard to penetrate into black's position. You know, what are you going to do? You're tied down on e2, and all you've got is the c file. but it's protected. All the entry points are covered. C5, C6, C7. It's not like white's going to magically get his queen on B7 or something. So white screwed up his attacking chances here. Like, clearly B6 is better. Actually, what's happening on B6? Now you do like the standard thing, which would be like pawn takes, and A6, and try to keep the lines closed. But at least I think here, like, white probably has a fighting chance, right? Check, king B8, and rook C7 is like, uh-oh. Houston, I think we have a problem. Okay, you're lucky you have rook D7, you can hang on, but white definitely has something going on there. A6 is really bad. This just lets black close the lines. Now you could even play like C5 to keep the lines closed. And this is a catastrophe. F3. That's bad. You got your bishop blocked now on the diagonal. So I think that black should just play bishop H3. It looks like black has a winning position, I would say. Maybe there's a small chance white could survive with G4. Speaking of keeping the lines closed, there's a small chance white could survive here, but I really doubt it. I mean, F5. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for him to, yeah. It's very hard for white to keep his king, you know, surviving here. I don't think it's a real good chance. Bishop H5, probably not as good. This also blocks our rook. Rook B1. But white is living in a fantasy world. I mean, he's got no threats. This is a weird move. But again, Jim's playing quickly. He should have played bishop H3. This is so funny. Yeah, man. Welcome to the D3 pawn. All sorts of combinations now. I mean, black is spoiled for choice. This has to be a winning position again. But he plays king B8. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to play king B8. This is brutal, man. You got to play a move here. There's all sorts of possibilities. Rook takes D3. Knight takes G3. Knight H4. And he plays king B8. Alright. Rook C1. Knight E7. Yeah, this you messed around too much. Jim just didn't play a kind of finishing blow. I think he must have had millions of wins. I mean, seriously, this position, there has to be a combo for black. There are just too many weaknesses. Plus the H file. But I'm serious, like, bishop H5 was a really bad move here. F3 is a really bad move, but bishop H5 is definitely not the right move. Every other move was better. H3, bishop H3, bishop F5. This is a serious mistake. If you go here, you've blocked your own H file. This is literally the worst move. Really awkward for black. But I think we're winning here. No combos. Knight takes G3 is equal. Wow. That's amazing. What about like rook takes? This doesn't work. Knight takes G3 is only equal. Knight H4 is not enough. That's apparently like slightly better for white. So there was nothing there. King B8, alright, good choice. But you're winning. And that's a really bad move, but what's he supposed to play? I mean, rook C3, and then knight D5. He didn't want to give him knight D5. You played a very safe game after what looked like a very crazy initial sort of attack. I'm definitely trading queens if I can here. I can't believe white doesn't play queen F2. He's lucky to be alive. This is a cool idea. What about c7? Man, White's really close to a serious tactic. I mean, doesn't White have knight a5 now? You've got rook c5, that's the idea. Here, here. This is a nice defensive move. White has all sorts of ideas, but this is the main point. Like, knight a5 would be really strong otherwise. This is made into. I mean, of course black could play like queen takes d3 check, but it's a little bit messy. That's what happened in the game. I can't believe it. So you had rook c5. I don't know what the time situation was, but I mean, it seems like Jim's giving his opponent a lot of respect and playing very, very safely here. I don't see how rook c5 can possibly be a bad move. Alright, take, check, takes, and now rook takes and your bishop's hanging. You know, it's kind of funny, but maybe White should play pawn takes. He has this pawn. Maybe there's still hope. It looks like rook takes walks directly into this. It's like Monopoly. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You're literally walking right into bishop e8 and bishop takes b5. But Jim was in time pressure and missed it. How does White even deal with that? I mean, that's game over, man. He doesn't have a good square. The only square is like e6. And then bishop takes b5 and there's no rook e8 check. And White is just like getting hit on this diagonal as well. Man, that's terrible. It's gotta be game over. a6 is falling. White's invading on the, or black's invading on the 7th. Rook g5, rook d2. White's totally lost. So instead Jim played this. Rook d6, which is nowhere near as good. Rook d6, cd6. And maybe White still has some small chance to survive. I don't know. I guess it's still good. This is falling. This is all weak. It's still enough. I like the bishop, though. That bishop. The f3 move. Your dragon license gets taken away when you play f3. What did Jim do? He hung a piece now? So this really degenerates. d5. This is why I love bullet chess. You've got a minute left and you play d5 hanging your bishop. Wow. Pawn takes, rook a5. Rook takes g7, rook takes a6, and now White is winning. White is probably winning now. White is definitely winning now. So that was Jim's like agony game. You were totally winning, dude, but I think you played a little too safely at points. But I mean, the bottom line is you hung a piece with under a minute left in a blitz game at the end when you were completely winning. Bishop e8 was a real knockout. If we go back there, rook takes b5 like before this. It turns out even rook e6 is good, right? How could you possibly lose this position? The only way to lose this position is like blunder rook c6 and freak out. I mean, even there, you're like still winning. He mishandled his bishop though. First of all, putting it on h5 and then dropping it. Yeah, tough break, dude. All right, guys, that wraps it up. That's all the games we got for tonight. Did I miss anybody? Any other subscribers who submitted games earlier? Still have 270 players. Thanks everyone for joining us. We had the raid from Eric Rosen. I'd like to thank him. You put in last minute sub. Say what? You put in the last minute submission. Okay. Got it. Move 11. If we have time. Yeah. Alright, we have time for one more game. This is move 11. I knew it would be like Gary Kasparov versus somebody. It's got to be like a 100 move game. Alright. 100 move bishop and knight checkmate. What do we got here? Gary Kasparov, Ivanchuk. Gary playing black? Wait, what is this? Gary playing black. Oh, the famous game that Ivanchuk won. Ivanchuk, you know, how many times did he beat Kasparov? Once or twice? How can I get this game? Why can't I, like, grab it? Get PGN. Practice with computer. Now it's letting me get it. Alright, whatever. What is this? What just happened? Thank you for this great submission. How can I grab this game? Can I, like, copy and paste it? Am I an idiot? Get PGN is like downloading the PGN, right? Why doesn't it work? Oh, you're gonna do it that way. Yeah, 91. I mean, I remember this. I don't remember the game, but I remember the event. I remember Ivanchuk beating Kasparov. It was I was very into chess in 91. Alright, copy, tools, analysis board, whatever. Yeah, I mean, lichess made it harder to do stuff rather than easier. I like the final position. Alright, so Ivanchuk was white. This was a legendary game from Linares, 1991. Here we see bishop e5 check against Kasparov's Sicilian. I mean, I don't know that much about Ivanchuk, but one thing that always impressed me was his ability to play virtually anything, you know. Probably less so back then than the experienced Ivanchuk now. But honestly, like, black's safest move is bishop d7, and that's very popular these days. Like, Magnus has played the bishop e5 check a lot. So this is the most aggressive. Black's not going to concede a bishop exchange. He's going to try to gain the bishop pair for the knight, but it's not an easy line to handle for black, from what I know. This is the most aggressive. Knight c6 transposes to a Rossolimo. So anyway, alright, let's see what happened. Knight d7, d4. It looks like castles is very, very popular. Magnus, let's see. Speaking of Magnus, yeah. I think Magnus likes to play like different lines with castles. D4 was like really, really popular at the time, but I think this has reduced itself. The popularity of this has reduced slightly. There's Magnus games here too. Magnus is the big authority. I mean, he makes bishop b5 seem cool. So knight f6, yeah, okay. I actually did a video on the Pomniachi Magnus game a long time ago. So knight c3 normally. Defending the pawn. I haven't looked at this. Maybe I looked at it in 1991, but I don't remember. Okay, now c takes d4, queen takes d4. This is standard. a6. Is this a move? There's the game I was talking about. So I did a video on Carlsen the Pomniachi like last year. I did not mean to pick that up, but really brutal. Magnus understood exactly what he's doing. This is kind of counterintuitive, though. Very technical. Nepomniachtchi got completely destroyed. But the kind of thing like wouldn't happen twice. Magnus knew exactly what he's doing. Generally speaking, white goes for development, so bishop takes d7. White is trying to show that he's like ahead in development. His king is safe, and the black king is still in the center of the board. Magnus's subtle bishop e2 was probably developed with 21st century computer analysis. Bishop takes d7, and now white just goes for quick development. Black has some counterplay here. Bishop g5. If c4, interesting, g6. I would think like e5 and h6. e5 and h6 is a setup. Preventing bishop g5. This transposes. And then suddenly like 63 games appear. There's even this though, that's sharper. It's interesting, Nepomniachtchi has a game with white. I didn't realize he played this line himself. Okay, different variation though. So anyways, bishop g5, and now I'm thinking, man, if I'm black here, I am not really trusting h6. I mean, that is a very arrogant move by Kasparov. Wow. I mean, it may have been theory at the time. But first of all, like, who the heck plays, like, bishop b5 check Sicilian against Kasparov when, you know, no strong players really played the bishop b5 check much in that time. Maybe Ivanchuk found a hole in Kasparov's prep, but I can't imagine Kasparov had too many games in this. I just doubt it. But it's looking like this reminds me of the Kuprejcik variation with bishop d7 and bishop c6. I just don't see how black has time for pawn moves. Okay, this is very risky. So takes. I mean, Kasparov has to know what he's getting into here. Basically. Very, very sharp position. Kings in different positions. 2 knights versus 2 bishops. The black king is less safe than the white king. There really is no safe place for the black king. It's like a Richter Rouser. I mean, theoretically, he could castle queenside. There's no way I can do a proper analysis of this in like 15 minutes. It's a very sophisticated position. So Ivanchuk plays king h1. This is the only game where that was played, interestingly. Yeah, the Richie Rouser. Well, I mean, basically, Kasparov lost this game, but I mean, you know, he played very, very sharply. Going into this very imbalanced position with imbalanced pawn structure, imbalanced king position, imbalanced like knights versus bishops. I mean, he's playing like full on out for a win. King h1 and now h5, which is a totally normal Rouser move. So far, you know, Ivanchuk's position doesn't look very threatening. It's more like a long-term thing. And now black could potentially play b5, but this looks like a super committal move by Ivanchuk. Now, you know, he's not going to have any pawn breaks. He just like fixes it. I wonder, like, if Garry Kasparov offered a draw at this point, would Ivanchuk have accepted it? You gotta wonder. It's like 1991. Kasparov's world champion. Ivanchuk's rated 100 plus points lower. You got the feeling like Gary's playing for a win. Ivanchuk, you know, wants to win, but he's just kind of holding the position. But now b4. So that's... Well, what are we gonna do in the hedgehog? You normally don't play b4 because you're gonna get smoked on c4. So suddenly, it's like, well, what is White gonna do about queen c7? This is a huge tactical point. Ivanchuk has two options. He could try to tactically defend it with some kind of discovery, or he can passively defend with knight d2. As I said, I haven't seen this game in years, so I don't really remember what the idea was. Though I'm honestly, I don't know. Like, if you go here, queen takes c4, what's the big deal? I mean, is it something crazy like, I don't know, queen a7, and you're just facing brutal threats on the c file? So at the end of the day, we've got to ask ourselves, fans of Ancient Aliens, should Kasparov have played queen c7, and if not, then why? Well, let's check what the computer says. You know, hindsight is 20/20, but it's coming up as the first move. So then it goes over to a5. Wow. So this is a really unbelievable move by Kasparov. He has a chance to attack the c-pawn, but he first plays a5. Trying to, I guess invite b5. Now b5, and now queen c7, and now knight d2, and now queen c5. So he carved that square out for his queen. Ivanchuk doesn't want an ending, I guess. If queen takes c5, black could take with the rook, because this is under pressure, or he could even take with the d-pawn. And I think black's extremely solid here. There's no way you're trading queens. Queen c5, queen d3. Now, the black queen has various like dark squares it could go to, but Ivanchuk's going to play f4 at some point. Idea, rook g3. If you try to play f4, you're going to have to worry about this. So, kind of neutral move here. Rook a e1. It's hard for Kasparov to do anything. He doesn't have d5. This stops d5, I guess, right? Because now if d5, we're just blasting black on the e file. There's no breakthrough. I saw that was a line in the queen c7. The computer was finding a way to play like d5, but not here. Rook e1 shuts black down, shuts down the counterplay. I would think Kasparov would have to consider like moving his king over here to like shelter. That's a maneuver I've played a lot on the black side of the Rouser. Magnus, I've seen also, you know, have to do like king d8, bail out. If only Kasparov could find a way to like force a trade of queens. He forces rook g1, which actually stops f4, so that's a fairly constructive thing to do. Queen f4. Closed position with no breaks is good for knights. That's what we're seeing here. He needs a break with the pawns, but doesn't have any. So now Kasparov's sort of like running out of active things to do. b6, knight e2. White has the classic like Richter Rouser plan of f4, f5. If this is a blitz game, I would play f4. Idea f5. I guess something like here. I don't know. But it is hard for black to really do anything. But this move had to be like a bolt from the blue. That's a brutal idea. I mean, unlikely that Kasparov saw it or saw it early enough that maybe he saw it like the move before it was played, but he probably didn't see it in advance far enough that he could prepare for it. This c5 is a devastating move. I mean, whenever you make a sacrifice that can be captured like 3 different ways. I had a game like that once. Exact same move actually against Alexander Goldin. Where he could capture on c5 3 ways. It's very upsetting psychologically for the opponent. So if he takes with the d pawn, knight c4, and if b6 falls, black's just lost. Bishop d8 allows knight d6 check, so the only option there would be for black to play like rook b8. But it doesn't look good. I mean, white's just busting through now. If you take with a b pawn, there's a protected passer on b5 and white has knight c4. And this, it also doesn't look good. So Kasparov like has to take with the rook. White plays knight c4, and now this is hit and this is hit. End of the day, it's always the same thing. The number one thing that takes someone down is king safety. It's always about the king protection. So if you think about any principle in the game, center, development, pawn structure, whatever, space, the number one thing is always like whose king is safer. Ivanchuk's king is like, you know, the classic snug as a bug in a rug. I mean, nothing is even close to the white king. Completely safe. But Kasparov's king, for now it's safe, but not necessarily like long run, right? I mean, it's in the middle of the board. If d6 falls, we've got access. If it moves to f8, it's on the f file. It's not completely safe. He did play king f8, now knight takes b6. I was actually expecting Ivanchuk to play knight takes d6. Felt like that pawn is important. But I guess this is just as strong. I mean, you've got a crushing outside pass pawn now. And most likely white is winning. I mean, it's like that's it. It was c5 that broke Kasparov. Bishop e8. But objectively, this is a winning. It's a queen, you know, like the pawn on b5. Ivanchuk doesn't even need to play f4, objectively. He's like improving his position on the other side, taking away rook g5. He's a genius, but I mean, probably in order to win, he doesn't have to play f4. It's like improving his position even more. f5, e takes f5, rook takes f5, and now rook c1. This is the main thing. Pass pawn. But as we said before, like the king, relative king safety, very, very much better for white. King on the run. That's an absolute, like, bolt from the blue again. Just when you think you're lost on the queen side, Ivanchuk hits you with g4. That's unbelievable. It looks like a mistake because, you know, black can take and his structure, white's structure would be compromised. But not in this moment where we have knight takes and knight f5 or knight h5. Actually, that's mate in one. So this doesn't work. If pawn takes pawn, he would have had to take back with the piece. So it's just queen takes. Okay. Yeah, queen takes and wins here. I mean, theoretically, black could play king f6, right? And then if this, you have mate. But I don't think Kasparov really, you know, felt like chilling with his king on f6. It's obvious he can't take en passant. And so g4 is a killer move. Basically, Ivanchuk won on both sides of the board. Brutal. Move 11, you like picking on Kasparov, don't you? You submitted a game like a couple weeks ago where Patrick Wolf beat Kasparov in a simul, And now the epic, like, Ivanchuk game. Damn. Bishop f8, queen d8. That's embarrassing, right? The queen on h6. You get the impression, like, Ivanchuk studied his Nimzovich games. Queen g6, f5. Also brutal. I mean, this is a point in 1991 where Ivanchuk had really broken into the top level, and he had won the New York Open in, like, 1988 or something like that. But he wasn't as well known, yet. This is just devastating. I mean, poor Kasparov must have been humiliated. This is very much counterplay. I don't know how Kasparov didn't resign already, to be honest. Like, this is too humiliating. He must have been devastated. Pawn takes pawn, knight f4. Absolutely unbelievable. Queen h8, queen f6 check, king h7, and rook takes h4. That's so sick. Anyway, thanks for sharing move 11. That was Ivanchuk Kasparov from Linares 1991. Probably the worst game I ever saw. The worst I ever saw Kasparov crushed. But honestly, like, the game was decided by the c5. And Gary, like, really, he played a risky type of line. Alright, guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the raid from Eric Rosen. Thanks, everybody. I hope you join us again. Please follow and subscribe if you can. And check us out tomorrow. I'm going to be back in the morning, 11 a.m. CEST, as we play some rapid chess against players here on lichess. Sunday is our epic classical simul, an Art Vega raid. Good idea. All right, dude, I'll pass it on. We'll pass on the coffee, Art Vega. Hopefully he's not flooded. Thanks, Move 11, for the suggestion. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see y'all later. Bah. Thanks, Mr. Coffee, by the way. We're going to raid Art Vega. Alright, everybody. Prepare. Just hang on for a moment while I get this raid ready. Alright, good.